everyone. Today, we will be making a Siamese cat. So we are providing these two types of needles. A medium needle is slightly longer than the fine needle. The tip of the medium needle is also slightly thicker than the fine needle. Both types of needle tips will have many small barbs. During the felting process, the barbs move the wool, causing the wool to interlock to achieve the felting effect. The medium needle felts faster and is used for shaping in the early and middle stages. A felting speed with fine needles is relatively
Used
slow
for
later light felting to make the surface of the doll smooth and even. First time using a felting needle, we need to first take a needle out of the needle holder. New needles are coated with anti-rust oil to prevent the felting needle from rusting. Before we use it, you can use a paper towel to wipe off the rust-proof oil on the surface. The correct way to clean the needle is gently rub in the direction of the needle. After cleaning, it can be used together with the felting handle. When cleaning the needle, be sure not to wipe back and forth. This can easily lead to the needle accidentally piercing your finger, causing injury using the needle. When felting wool, the needle needs to be kept vertical to the wool being felted. Insert the wool in the direction of the needle tip. When pulling the needle out, it needs to be pulled out in the opposite direction of where the needle just entered. Then repeat. Continuously repeat. This will allow the wool to felt. When felting wool, make sure to apply force in the direction of the needle. Do not press the needle. Pressing the needle can easily lead to breakage. Also, do not lift the needle upward after inserting it into the wool. This can also cause the needle to break. The Siamese cat and the blue-white bichor cat are similar. Both are in a lying position. Their white base is also the same. The difference lies in the color of their eyes. The eyes of the Siamese cat are blue. Additionally, their patterns are different. The pattern is applied during the final coloring process. The method of creating it will differ. Here, you can see the front and angled side views, along with a 1:1 blueprint of its pure side profile. First, we will create an oval-shaped head. Take out the white wool and roll it tightly. Then form a wool ball that is slightly larger than the head in the blueprint. Let's compare the current width. The width is slightly narrower than in the blueprint, but the height is just right. So let's roll a bit more wool. Now it is slightly larger than in the blueprint. Let's check the side. The thickness on the side is also slightly thicker than in the blueprint. So we take the wool from this position. Unfold the wool. Place your hands on both sides of the edge. Remove the excess wool. After removing it, you can roll the wool tightly again. Confirm that the part you have taken is slightly larger than in the blueprint. The front width and height should be slightly wider, and the sides should also be a bit wider, so that the wool taken is slightly larger than the blueprint, which is just right. If the wool you take is significantly larger than what is shown on the blueprint, you can also remove wool from the back or the sides. If the wool you rolled out is much smaller than what is indicated on the blueprint, you can add some more wool inside. This way you can adjust the size of the wool ball. Now the wool is slightly larger than the blueprint. Set the blueprint aside. After placing the wool on the mat, take out the medium needle and set it aside. Before rolling the wool, you should first check it for any impurities and promptly clean them off. After removing the impurities, we will begin rolling the wool. When rolling the wool, be careful not to roll it too loosely, because if it is too loose, the wool will not bond well. The correct method is as follows. Begin rolling the wool from the end with a flatter cut, leaving some fibers at one end. Hinge tightly with one hand and roll it inward from the flatter cut end. Use your other hand to firmly hold the wool to prevent it from loosening. Continue rolling until the wool is completely wrapped. When there is just a little tail left, place the wool on the felting mat. Pinch and secure the tail pointing upwards. Take out our medium needle and insert it by poking along the wool into the felting mat. Next, follow the angle you just inserted and repeat the previous action. First, secure this part of the tail. You can felt a few more times to ensure it is secure. Now, let's adjust the hand. Felt the wool at the bottom to secure it. When you felt for the first time, you can slow down the speed of the needle. Be careful to avoid felting your hand. Once the bottom is secured, continue adjusting the direction of the hand, and now felt the upper part to secure it as well. Secure the areas on the front that have not been felted yet. The wool ball is now initially secured. Take a moment to observe the wool ball. It has a somewhat square shape, while the cat's head is oval. So we need to felt the areas with sharp corners inward. Use the needle to felt the pointed areas slightly. The area that has been felted here has formed a curve. Felt all the pointed areas slightly. The wool ball is now roughly spherical in shape. Squeeze the wool ball, it feels a bit soft. Now we need to felt this wool ball to make it denser. Continue felting until the wool ball becomes a resilient sphere. While felting, you can change the angle to ensure that each side is evenly felted. After felting for a while, squeeze the wool ball to check its softness and firmness. If it feels too soft, you can continue felting. Be careful not to felt the wool ball too hard, as it will be inconvenient to adjust later. The video has been edited, and the actual production time will be longer, so everyone needs to be patient. I have now felted the wool ball a bit tighter. Let's pinch it a little. It is still slightly soft. At this stage, we can adjust its shape, making the top of the head narrower, while allowing the cheeks to be slightly wider. So we felt the sides of the top of the head towards the center. This is what one side looks like after felting. Let's adjust this side. Turn it over, and continue felting. Gently pinch and adjust the shape. Now the sides should appear a bit narrower. Maintain the shape. And felt the wool ball tighter, as it is still quite soft. Continue to felt it tighter. The needle holes on the wool ball have noticeably become denser. Pinch the wool ball again. Now it feels more elastic. At this point, you can take out the blueprint to compare the size. Take out the blueprint to compare the size. Our wool ball should now be approximately the same size as indicated on the blueprint. The front looks about right. Now check its thickness from the side. It's in a similar state. So we can move on to the next step. If your wool ball is still a bit large, you can continue to use the medium needle to felt it tighter. If it's small, you can add a little more wool and use the medium needle to felt it tighter to adjust the size. Now, let's take out the fine needle. Gently felt the surface of the sphere to make the wool ball more compact. During the felting process, you should also keep pinching the wool ball to check its tightness. However, be careful not to felt it too tightly, as making it too hard will make it difficult to adjust the shape of the wool ball. At this stage, you can gently felt the surface of the wool ball. The video has been edited, and the actual production time will be longer, so everyone needs to be patient. Now, let's knead the wool ball a little more. The firmness of the wool ball is just right, providing some elasticity without being too tight. Make sure to adjust the shape of the wool ball. The sides of the top of the head should be slightly narrower, while the bottom should be a bit wider. Take a look at its sides and back. After this stage, compare the size again. Take out the blueprint. Our wool ball is slightly smaller than what is shown in the blueprint. Now we can move on to the next step. If your wool ball is still a bit large, you can continue to use the fine needle to felt it tighter. If yours is much smaller, you can add some more wool. And then, use fine needle to felt it tightly to adjust the size. Next, we need to lay a layer of torn wool on the surface of the ball. Now, the texture of the wool is clearly visible on the surface of the ball. Once the torn wool is laid down, its surface will have a matte texture. as the layer of torn wool will cover the direction of the wool's texture on the surface. To lay the wool, prepare some torn wool. And take a small amount. Next, you need to tear the wool. When tearing, be careful not to pull the wool horizontally, as it makes it difficult to tear it apart. Also, avoid keeping your hands too close together while tearing, as this makes it hard to separate the wool. The correct method is to hold the wool upright, with both hands gripping the sides to pull it apart. When stacking the wool, tilt one side of the wool at a certain angle. Stack the two pieces of wool together, then separate them. Rotate the angle and stack them together again. Continue to repeat this action. When tearing with both hands, you can separate your hands a bit. This way, the wool can be torn more easily. After continuously repeating this process, you can tear the fibers of the wool apart. The wool that has been torn this way has relatively short fibers. Take a small amount from the torn wool. If there are still some longer pieces in here, you can tear the long ones shorter. Lay the torn wool on the wool ball. And once felted, the wool fiber's flow becomes less visible. Now, take out the head we created. Spread the wool into a thin layer. The whiter areas here indicate that the wool is thicker in those spots. By observing the color variations, you can see that the thickness is uneven. After spreading it out, the sides remain thin. Now, place the torn wool onto the sphere. Take out our fine needle and gently felt the thin wool sheet onto the surface of the wool ball. When felting in this step, be sure to pay attention to not poking too deep. Otherwise, the surface wool will be pulled into the body, and you won't achieve the desired effect of covering the needle holes. After felting the areas where torn wool has been applied, continue to take more wool and cover all the spots that haven't been covered yet. Take a portion from the torn wool. Spread it into a thin sheet. Then lay it over the areas that haven't been covered with torn wool. You can clearly see the texture of the wool in the uncovered spots. After laying it down, use fine needle to poke it lightly. There are still some areas that haven't been covered. You can add wool to them gradually. There are still spots here that need to be covered. Continue to take more wool. Felt the sides of the head a bit. Shape it to be narrow at the top and wider at the bottom. Now flip it over and felt the other side. The head is now felted. This is the front. This is the side. This is the back. You can compare it with the size of the blueprint. If the size is about right, then it's suitable. If it's a bit smaller, you can add a little more torn wool. If it's slightly larger than the blueprint, that's okay. Just continue to the next step. Next, you need to fill the cheeks on both sides to make them plump. Take out a small piece of torn white wool. When stacking, try to keep this wool ball small. And gather the wool from the wider edges towards the center. The center should be thicker, while the edges are more sparse. Place the wool on the cheeks. Use fine needle to felt it securely onto the face. The area where you've added wool will protrude a bit more than the other side. Continue to felt it tightly. After felting this side tightly, check the bottom. This side will be slightly higher than the other side. From the side, this area will appear fuller. Use the same method to take the same amount of torn wool. Fill in the other side of the face as well. When adding to the other side, be sure to keep both sides symmetrical. If the heights are uneven, make adjustments promptly. This is what it looks like after adding the wool. After filling in the cheeks, we need to add a bit of wool along the chin to prevent it from being too sunken. This will give it a slightly protruding effect. You don't need to add too much wool to avoid making the chin too bulging. Take a small amount of torn white wool. You can add a little bit at a time. To avoid adding too much at once, place the wool in the center of the cheeks. And let the wool on both sides extend slightly onto the cheeks. After felting, the connection between the cheeks and chin will look more natural. After adding to the chin once, the connection here is smoother. But the chin is still not plump enough. So we need to add a little more wool. Try to concentrate the wool in the middle section. Then find the position of the chin and place the wool there. Let's start felting tightly. Just add the chin to this extent. If you don't add any wool to the chin area, the cat's face will appear somewhat flat. You can trim the surface fluff with scissors if you like. But if you prefer a fluffier look, you can choose not to trim it. Feel free to decide based on your own preferences. The face part is now completed. Creating the facial features. The first thing to create is its nose. Once the nose is finished, you can move on to its mouth. The nose is positioned at the midline of the face. It is also at the position of the vertical center line. The nose has the shape of an inverted triangle. Next, let's create the cat's nose. Take out some deep pink wool. Since the cat's nose is quite small, just a little bit of deep pink wool will suffice. Roll the deep pink wool into a small ball. A cat's nose should be felted in the center of the front. Place the needed small ball in the center. And use the needle to secure it in place first. A cat's nose is shaped like an inverted triangle. So first, locate the 2 points at the top of the triangle. Next, let's work on this corner at the bottom. Felt out the edges of the triangle. Tuck in any excess wool. The nose is a bit too big right now, so keep felting it towards the center. Once the triangle is adjusted, round off the corners a bit. So they don't look too sharp. Keep felting a little more. Be sure to felt lightly in the center. The nose is completed. Then, we create the mouth. Start from below the nose and move to one side. That's one part. Then come from below this vertical line. That's the other part. Take out some deep pink wool and pull a small strand from the side. You don't need to take too much. Place the prepared wool in your palm and roll it tightly with your hands. Roll it into a thin strip. At one end of the strip, you can fold the smaller part over and then continue to roll it tightly. After rolling tightly, it will form a thin line. Insert this end of the thin line just below the nose. Then, felt along the center line. When felting the center line, you can felt a little shorter. About this position. Come to this side and felt out the corner of the mouth. Adjust the mouth slightly if it doesn't look quite right. Make sure its centerline is vertical. Use scissors to trim off the excess part. Cut from the corner of its mouth. There will be a little wool fluff at the corner. Poke this line end in. Now, one side of the mouth is completed. The angle should be straight down and then slanted. Now continue to make the other side. Starting from this point below the center line. Create the other side of the mouth. Roll the line that you just cut off. Poke into the middle position. Ensure that the lengths of the mouth corners on both sides are the same. Once again, cut off any excess part. Poke the line end in. Adjust the shape to make both sides look more symmetrical. If one side is longer, you can felt it inward, following the direction of the mouth. This is what the mouth looks like when it's finished. Let's take a look at the position of the eyes. The lowest points of both eyes should be on the same line as the highest point of the nose. The lowest point of the eye. The highest point of the nose. The lowest point of the other eye. These 3 points should form a horizontal line. Then, the distance from the inner corner of each eye to the nose should be the same on both sides. You can adjust the eyes to be symmetrical in this way. Take out one eye. The bottom edge of the eye is right at the top of the nose, and they are aligned on the same line. The inner corner of the eye should be a little distance away from the outer side of the nose. Once we confirm the position of the eye, gently press down with your hand. Using fine needle, felt around the eye to create its outline. Here we have an eye socket. The lowest point of this eye is also at the tip of the nose. And it should align with the bottom edge of the other eye. The distance here should match the distance of the other eye. Let's continue by shaping its outline. To ensure that the positions of the two eyes are symmetrical, place the eyes on and check if their heights are the same. Now, felt the two eye sockets deeper. Create a depression inside the felted eye sockets so that you can place the eyes in. Once the two eye sockets are felted to a certain depth, take out the eyes and place them in the sockets. Take a look to see if the eyes are symmetrical after placing them in the eye sockets, and if the height needs any adjustments. The distance on this side is slightly wider than on the other side, so let's adjust this part a little from the center. The height looks good. So, let's remove the eyes for now. Use scissors to cut along the outline of the eye sockets. Just a small snip will do. Now, let's take out the glue. We're using white glue here. But please bring your own glue due to international shipping restrictions. Apply a small amount of glue inside the eye sockets. But avoid putting it on the face. Using just a little will help prevent glue overflow. After applying the glue, gently press the eye into the eye socket to ensure it adheres firmly. Now attach the other eye as well. Once the glue has dried, it's done. The glued eyes will be more secure. Next, create the cat's eye whites. Take out some light blue wool. Take a small amount. Then, fold it in half. Roll it tightly with your hands. The rolled wool shouldn't be too thick. The eye white should be crescent-shaped. Wrap it around both sides of the eye. Poke the top part into the upper position. Then continue to felt downwards. Make sure it wraps around the corner of the eye. Trim off any excess with scissors. Gently push these excess areas in. Adjust the shape a bit. As it's crescent-shaped, the top and bottom parts should be relatively thin. Felt this part into the head. This will help make the line here a bit finer. Push the excess wool in here. Make the eye white narrower at the top and bottom, with a wider section in the middle. Now, let's continue working on the other side. Once you're done, take a look at the eye whites on both sides to ensure they are symmetrical. Next, adjust the cat's eyebrows a bit. As it currently looks a bit fierce. Gently felt the eyebrows towards the center of its forehead. After the adjustment, the eyebrows have a furrowed appearance. Now, gently indent the bridge of the nose. The adjusted eyebrows look more relaxed. The eyes section is now completed. Before creating the ears, take a moment to observe the shape of the cat's ears. They are pointy and are attached to the top sides of the head. Both ears are the same shape and size. The ears resemble a triangle. From the side, you can see its thickness. So, when you take the wool, you can fold it into a triangular piece. Ensure the ears have a bit of thickness. Don't make them too thin. Prepare some torn light wool. Since the ear is made from a thin piece, you can start with a small amount of wool. To avoid making the ear too thick, fold the wool into a triangle shape. Take a look at its side, it's thin. Place the folded triangle piece on the felting mat. Use fine needle to felt this side first to secure it. You can refer to the blueprint to check the size. If it's too large, you can remove any excess wool. Now that this side is secured, flip it over and felt the back side to secure it as well. I've done some simple felting on both sides now, and you can see that it has a certain thickness on the side, but it's not overly thick. Now, let's felt the side edges. On the side where the head connects, leave some wool fluff so it can attach better to the head. Now, let's stand the ear up. First, felt one side of it. When you're felting, take your time to avoid poking your fingers. This is the adjusted side. Let's not worry about the wool fluff here for now. Now let's adjust this side. The other side is now adjusted, and the boundary of the ears is much clearer. Gently felt this sharp corner downwards. Make the ear appear a bit rounder. Continue using fine needle to felt out the triangular thin piece. And be careful to felt lightly, because if you felt too deeply, you might see the wool coming out from the back. If you accidentally felt the wool out, you can turn to this side and gently felt lightly to push the wool that just came out back into the thin piece. Felt both sides evenly and firmly. You can keep flipping it while felting. This way, both sides can be felted simultaneously. Also, don't forget about the two side edges. Just keep repeating this process until the triangular piece is felted tightly. During the process of felting the ears, feel free to refer to the blueprint to check the size. If it's too small or too big, you can make adjustments as needed. The ear is nearly finished with the felting. So take a look at each side. There's a bit of excess wool now, and you can gently scrape it off. The finished ear looks like this. Use the same method to create the other ear. to ensure that both ears are approximately the same size. When making the second ear, you can refer to the size of the first ear that has already been completed. During the process, you can compare to check if the size and thickness are consistent. If this size is smaller or larger than the previous one, you can add more wool or use felting to tighten it. To adjust both sizes to be the same, now, the ear I made later is a bit too thin on this side. For this kind of issue, we can add a bit of torn white wool to the thinner area here, and then use fine needle to felt it. How you avoid making our creations too large? Because if they are too big, it might lead to running out of wool. If you notice during the process that it is indeed a bit too large, you can compare it to the size of the previous one and give it a trim. After trimming, use torn wool to lay a thin layer of wool on the trimmed surface. Then, use fine needle to felt it tightly. Continue until the sizes of the two ears are adjusted to be similar. Compare the sizes of the two adjusted ears. This way the two ears are completed. Take a look at the inner sides of the two ears, which should be positioned right above its eyes. From the side, they should also align with the midline of its head. The two ears should be installed horizontally and adjusted to be symmetrical. Take out one completed ear. The inner side of the ear should be aligned with the inner corner of the eye. Use fine needle to felt the wool fluff at the base of the ear into the head. Now, install the other ear. If the tips of the ears are a bit pointy during the felting process, you can insert the needle from the tip of the ear and felt it towards the head. Once adjusted, the ears won't be so pointy and will look more natural. When attaching the ears, you can lightly felt a shallow concha in the middle of the ears. And felt deeper in the center of that area. After connecting, check if the ears are symmetrical. If one side of the ears is higher or lower, you can make adjustments. Once the ears are connected, they should look like this. The 2 points at the inner sides of the ears are positioned along the horizontal line. The points at the outer sides are also on the same horizontal line. The ears are now completed. Next, let's create the body. From the side view, you can see that the body starts from the connection point at the back of the head. This leg will be added to the body once it's completed. Aside from this leg section wrapping down from the butt here, forming the shape of the body. You can also see from the slanted side that the leg protrudes outward. The body is located within the inner edge of this colored area. From the side, the body appears slightly narrower than the head. The length of the body is quite similar to its width. This can be summarized as a spherical shape. From a top view, the sides of the body are narrower than the head. So when rolling the wool, you can shape it into a spherical form. The butt tends to be a bit more lifted. As a result, the body looks chubby from the side. When rolling the wool according to the blueprint, you can create a wool ball that is slightly larger than the body on the blueprint. Refer to the blueprint to take out the wool that matches the body size. And be sure to remove any impurities. Next, roll the wool tightly. Pinch and secure the tail upwards. First, felt the tail area tightly. Continue felting the top. Felt the areas on the front that haven't been felted yet. The wool ball is now secured. The main sides of the body should be parallel. The bottom forms a short, curved cylinder. So gently push in the two protruding corners at the bottom. Create an arc shape. To connect the head, this area on top needs to be recessed, so that the arc under the head can better connect with the body. The general shape is starting to take form. The sides of the body are parallel. The wool ball is still quite soft. Keep felting it tightly with the medium needle. While felting tightly, make sure to keep pinching the wool ball. Check the firmness of the wool ball. Avoid felting the wool too tightly. Otherwise, you won't be able to adjust its shape. The body should be made as short as possible. You can adjust the body to be a bit shorter. Felt from this lower part to the upper section of its body. It's still a bit soft, continue to felt it. Now, let's knead the wool ball. It becomes quite firm, with a bit of elasticity. At this point, check the blueprint to verify the size. Make it about the same size as shown in the blueprint. Then, take out the fine needle and further felt the surface of the body to make it tighter. Switch to a fine needle and gently felt the surface of the body. While felting, check the tightness of the wool ball. And be careful not to felt the wool too hard. Now, knead it a bit, it should have some rebound. You can check the size against the blueprint again. It's perfectly fine if it's slightly smaller than the blueprint, because you'll need to add another layer of wool on the surface. Prepare some torn white wool. Take some wool and spread it out into a thin sheet. Once you have a thin sheet, lay it over the body. But don't cover the area where the head connects just yet. Use fine needle to attach the wool sheet. Continue to take torn wool and cover any areas that haven't been covered yet. This shows the effect of having a layer of wool over the entire surface of the body. Once the body is completed, start making the legs. Take a look at the legs of the Siamese cat. Its legs have paw pads. Also, make sure that both legs are the same size. Be careful when taking the wool. Take a wool ball that is slightly smaller than the leg, because after connecting to the body, we need to lay a layer of wool on the surface. If the wool ball is already the same size as the leg, then when laying the wool, the leg will only be larger. So, be careful to take slightly less wool. If we make it too small, we can add more wool later to enlarge it. But making it too big can be quite troublesome and might result in not having enough wool later. After taking out an appropriate amount of wool, roll it into a flat, round shape. Since this piece is relatively small, we can directly use fine needle to felt it tightly. First, felt this side firmly. Now, stand it up and continue felting. Continuously rotate the wool to ensure it maintains a round shape. Now, set it down. Felt both sides again. felting the inside. Repeat these steps until it is felted tightly. You can felt a bit more slowly to avoid poking your fingers. Just felt it into a tight disc. One leg is completed. When comparing size, if you notice that the disc is slightly smaller in either width or thickness, that's perfectly fine, because a layer of wool will be added on the outside when connecting it to the body. Continue using the same method to make another one. To ensure both legs are the same size, when taking the wool for the second leg, you must compare it with the size of the first leg you made. Once the second leg is finished, take out the first one to compare and check the size and width. The thickness inside should also be the same. If the sizes are similar, that's great. If the one you made later is a bit small, you can add a little more wool on top. If it's a bit large, you can use scissors to trim it slightly. Both legs are completed. Take out one of the finished legs. Let's first look at its side profile. It should be close to the belly side, while the butt side will be wider. So, let's felt it to secure it. Felt a circle around the leg. Connect it to the body. After the leg is installed, first turn it to the side. This is the belly. It is relatively close to the leg. This is the butt. Now turn it around to the front. It's in this position. Take out the other leg. Note that there is a slight distance between the two legs. Let's place it on the side again. Check its position. Is it close to the belly? And a little wider from the butt. Once confirmed, use fine needle to felt it securely onto the body. Check to see if the two legs are symmetrical. If one leg is higher and the other is lower, let's make some adjustments. I'll move this leg up a bit, and then do some felting. Flip it over to check for symmetry. Inspect each side. Let's hold it in our hands and see if its belly is too high. If we lay it flat and both legs are too high off the ground, we can adjust them downwards. Be sure its legs can rest on the mat. Once adjusted, felt it to secure it in place. This is what the side looks like. This is the front, and this is the butt. Let's take a look from the bottom. The belly section is less exposed. Now it's adjusted properly. Next, we need to add some torn white wool to the legs to cover up the connection marks. Take a bit of torn white wool and spread it out into an even, thin layer. Then, cover it over the connection area. Use fine needle to felt it in place. After laying down the wool here, you can see that the connection lines have disappeared. Now, in the same way, cover up the connection marks on the other leg. Wool has been laid out here as well, so you can check if the two legs are symmetrical. You can slightly trim the surface fluff. After finishing, take a look at the overall effect. This is the top surface of its back. This is the side of its body. And this is the butt side. When placed in your hand, you can see that the butt is a bit higher. Take out some pink wool and pull off a small piece. Roll it into a ball shape. Now the bud is facing up. It is lying like this on the felting mat. You can see the pop ads are placed at an angle like this, leaving a little more space below than above. Let's create pop ads for the toes. Since the pop ad is angled, start by felting this part into an arc shape. It should look like a semi-spiral angled this way. This line represents the horizontal level of the body. The line beneath the largest pop ad should be flat. Now let's felt the middle part a little. There is a slight curve at this middle position. The finished shape should look something like this. Now, let's make the small pop ads. Take a small amount of pink wool. Then roll it into a small ball. Attach it next to this straight line. It should form a circular shape. Create the remaining 3 pop ads in the same manner. Make sure there is a certain distance between each pop ad. Don't place them too closely together. Continue felting. Gradually adjust its size. Craft the final small pop ad. Ensure that the 4 small pop ads are arranged in a curve. 1 foot's pop ads are completed. Now finish the pop ads on the other side in the same way. Take a look at the toes on both sides. Ensure that the outermost toes are aligned on the same horizontal line. This side's pop ads are also finished. Check to see if both sides are symmetrical. The pop ads are completed. Now assemble the body and head. The body is currently positioned with the toes pointing down, resembling a pose lying on the felting mat. Combine them together like this. Then, place it on the felting mat to see how it looks. The midline of the body and forehead should be on the same horizontal line. Use fine needle to felt the two parts together. From here, insert the needle into the body. To connect it to the head, Felt while rotating. Secure the body and head by felting them together. Pick it up to check if the felting is completed. You can hold the body with one hand and the head with the other to give it a shake. Check for any looseness. If there is none, it means the connection is quite stable. If there is still some looseness, it means you need to continue felting. It is now connected. Take a look at its front and side. The arms of a lion cat are slightly longer in shape. Let's take a look. Prepare some torn white wool. Wrap the torn white wool to match the size of the arm in the blueprint. About this much wool. You can refer to the blueprint for guidance. First, shape it into a strip. Then fold it in half. Once completed, place it on the felting mat. And use fine needle to felt the wool into place. The front of the arm will be a bit wider. The back of the arm will be a bit thinner. Stand it up. And start felting the fingertip. Leave a bit of wool fluff at the back. You don't need to felt it too many times at the back. Just tuck most of the wool inside. Continue to felt it tightly. Give it a little pinch with your hand. Shape it into a flat form. This side should be slightly narrower than the pressed sides. Keep felting to secure it. Make the palm end a bit wider. Finally, felt it to secure it. One arm is done. This is the front. This is the side. This is the other side. Use the same method to create the other arm. This one should also be shaped into a slightly flatter form. Both arms are completed. Let's compare the sizes. If they are different, we need to make some adjustments. Now let's start making the pop ads. Take out some deep pink wool. Take a small amount of wool and roll it into a ball. First, let's create the larger pop ad. Place the felted wool in the center front position and felt it tightly. Felt it into a round shape. Once it's felted tightly, the middle pop ad is completed. Now, continue felting the 4 small pop ads. Take a small amount of wool. Roll it into a small round ball. Start felting from the edge. Now, let's continue to make the second one. Take a small amount of wool. Leave a little space between the 2 pop ads. The third one. The fourth one. The pop ads are ready. They look like a large round ball with 4 smaller round balls. Take a look at each of its sides. Use the same method to complete the pop ads on the other side. Both pop ads are ready. Now, let's start assembling. Attach the arms to the body. Next, assemble the arms and body. First, take out one arm and place it in the gap here between the head and body. The pop ads should be facing us in the same direction as the face. Once the position is confirmed, place it on the felting mat. Check if the arm can touch the felting mat. About this angle, it can touch the felting mat. Next, start felting with the fine needle. First, felt it tightly in the direction of the head. Rotate and felt from multiple angles. Make it a bit more stable. Give it a little shake to check if the arm is loose. One arm is installed. Now install the other arm in the same way. Both arms are now secured. Felt and secure any loose areas. Once secured, take a look at the effect. Now the two arms are parallel. Slightly turn both arms forward. Use the felting needle to secure the bases again. Now the arms look like this. Slightly turn this arm forward. This way, you can see some of the arms from the top. The two arms are assembled now. Let's check each side. Take a look at the cat's tail. It curves upward from the base of the butt. The base is a bit narrower, while the tip is wider. It resembles a slightly elongated teardrop shape. You can also clearly see the variation in thickness from the side. Prepare some torn white wool. Take a piece of torn wool the size of the tail. This is the amount I've taken. When making it, first roll it into a strip. Fold the rolled part inward at the front near one end. This way, one end will take on a rounded shape. Take out the fine needle and felt it to secure. Felt the top tightly while holding it upright. Place some wool fluff at the end that connects to the body. This end will be a bit thicker because it has been folded compared to the bottom. Continue to felt it tightly. If this end is a bit too thick, you can roll it with your hands. Then use the fine needle to felt it tightly. Once felted tightly, the tail will resemble a droplet shape. Now the tail is completed. Next, we need to attach the tail to the body. Next, assemble the tail. Place it here at the butt. Secure the end with wool fluff by felting it onto the body. Felt the base of the tail a bit. This will make the tail's line smoother. A slightly crooked tail looks cuter. Continue felting. The tail has been felted well, making the connection between the tail and body less noticeable. Take a look at the other side. Now, let's start brushing the fur. We will use a steel brush. When using a steel brush, please be cautious for safety, as the bristles can be quite sharp. Gently brush the white surface of the cat with the brush. This will help lift the cat fur. First, brush the forehead area, starting from the center of the face and moving up to the top of the head. Repeat the previous actions. Be careful not to brush the eye whites or the facial features. Gently brush small areas using the tip of the brush. Brush the face from the center outwards. Turn the cat over and brush its chin. When brushing, ensure that the fur on both sides is symmetrical. And you can also brush the chin area outwards towards both sides. Brush the ears at an upward angle. Use your hand to promptly remove any wool fluff from the brush. The face is now brushed. Flip it over and brush the back. Now, prepare to brush the body. Be careful not to brush the paw pads. Use the tip of the brush to brush the arms. Brush the fur on the tail from the base upwards. Give the remaining parts of the body a good brushing. It should look like this when you're finished. The brushing part is now completed. Next, let's start coloring. Remember to apply color in small amounts multiple times. You can deepen the darker areas by layering the color several times. Be careful not to apply too much color at once. If the color is too heavy, it will be difficult to modify. This will affect the final result. Take a look at how the colors are distributed. There are some localized color patches on the body. The color is concentrated around the nose area on the face, followed by the ears, the outer sides of the arms, the tail, and the legs. All other parts are left blank. For the color transition to the white areas, brush from the center towards the edges. This will create a more natural color transition and help you avoid mistakes while coloring. This is the dark area. And this is the light area. In the middle here, we have the heavy color. The heavy color is achieved by layering a bit of black on top to create this effect. When applying black, be sure to use small amounts and apply it multiple times. The heavy color in black should be applied to the nose, her outlines, fingertips, heel tip, and heels. When coloring, remember to use small amounts multiple times and take your time. When coloring, you don't need the felting mat. Just do it directly on the table. To prevent staining the table, you can place a piece of paper underneath. First, let's take out some coffee-colored soft pastel, which can be scraped into powder using scissors. We'll prepare this much. And if it's not enough, we can always add more. Grab a pipe cleaner, fold it in half, and use it as a brush to color the cat, with the folded part acting as the brush head. When coloring, be sure to extend from the center of the face outwards. Start by dipping a small amount of powder. After dipping, gently tap it to remove any excess powder. Start painting from the center of the nose towards the edges. To avoid coloring too deeply at once, be sure to use only a small amount of powder. Next, dip a bit of powder and deepen the dark areas slightly. The dark areas are within this circle. Be careful not to color the mouth. The dark areas have already been layered. You can use a brush to blend them more naturally. Now, let's color the ears. Outline the edges of the ears. Flip it over and create an upward gradient on the pointed tips of the ears. The color at the tips of the ears should be slightly darker, transitioning to white as you move down. If the color isn't deep enough, feel free to layer it again. Brush over any uneven areas of the base color once more. The face coloring is completed. Now, let's start coloring the arms. Brush a little back from the tips of the toes. Check out the effect after brushing. Next, let's start coloring the legs. Now, let's begin coloring the tail. The tail coloring is finished. Use a brush to blend the color of the toes to achieve a more even look. A basic coloring of the Siamese cat is now completed. We can turn it over with its back facing down and shake off the excess powder. This completes the basic coloring process. Let's take out the black soft pastel and scrape some powder. We don't use much of this, so we haven't prepared much here. If we have black powder on our hands, we can use a wet wipe to clean them, or wash our hands. Make sure your hands are clean. Then take out the pipe cleaner and dip it in black powder. Be sure to apply a little at a time. After dipping in the powder, shake off the excess on a blank area. If you'd like a more even color, you can prepare a brush and darken the darker areas a bit more. Continue adding color. This is the effect after finishing the coloring. Turn it over onto its back. Shake it off over the paper to remove any excess powder from the cat. There may be some fading when coloring. This is normal. Everyone should pay attention when coloring it. If you want its nose to be a bit more pronounced, you add a little pink on top. Take a small amount of pink wool. Felt it tightly. The Siamese cat is completed.